So he not only wants to create the federal doctor force, now it's also the Federal Privacy Commission, hired a bunch of hired a bunch of doctors and empowered them to drive throughout the country, not just Texas now, throughout the country in a truck or a van enforcing privacy rights. So I guess they're going to go around like a food truck and do abortions. Okay, Bob, should we go to, I think we wanted Alex on board with us before we talked about Texas. So we've kind of put it off for a couple of weeks now. And Texas is like an insane thing. And it kind of goes full circle to kind of a little bit about what we were talking about earlier, where, you're not allowed to sort of, states aren't allowed to do their own thing. So, Snicker, I'm sure you've heard by now, right? Texas heartbeat bill was supported by the Supreme Court. So they're allowed to have this 6-week heartbeat bill that once the baby has a heartbeat, they cannot do the abortions. People lost their minds. I thought I would try to give you guys a couple of examples and we could talk about this. I want to make sure I pulled this one up because the language this person uses is more like it's you, Snicker. It's the buzzword. It's the authoritarian psychopath. Okay, look at this. Liberal commentator demands Biden deputize doctors. Oh, geez, hold on. Deputize doctors to perform abortions in Texas. Time to play hardball. This is a CNN contributor. I'm not sure if you guys know who he is. I'm not sure how to say the name. ELIE Mystral. I'm not sure. He's there. Let me get to his quotes. We need to go and get women in Texas and protect their constitutionally protected medical rights. And the way you do that is to deputize doctors. You federalize doctors through an executive order. An army of federal doctors who are going to go into Texas, protect the Constitution by consulting women about their privacy rights and medical history. So I'm not sure if he thinks they're going to find a executive order. We'll have doctors go to Texas. I don't know. It says federalizing the doctor force. I didn't know the doctor force thing was an existing thing, but we got to send in the doctor force, protect those abortion providers from Texas law, which, as we all said, it's a bounty system, and so that's a different thing. Only private citizens can enforce it. Well, you know what? Federal officials are protected from private civil actions by qualified immunity, blah, 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 blah. What do you think? Snicker, you want to federalize doctors and send in the doctor force?
Hold on a second. I think I'm not just kind of wrapping my head around exactly what this guy was suggesting. So he wants to use qualified immunity for the doctors by deputizing them so they can kill fetuses?
Yes.
God, there's so much wrong with this one. There's really so much.
Oh, he gets crazier. Let me show you how much crazier he gets.
Okay.
He gets even crazier.
I'm a turkey, base me.
Okay, it's going to be a roasting. It's what it's going to be. He says, send in the abortion trucks. I kid you not. It's federalized to doctors. They're immune. We'll send them in the doctor force using abortion trucks. Completely different interview, completely different conversation. Can't read the whole thing. But yeah, if Joe Biden executive order established, let's call it a Federal Privacy Commission. So he not only wants to create the federal doctor force, now it's also the Federal Privacy Commission, hired a bunch of doctors and empowered them to drive throughout the country, not just Texas now, throughout the country in a truck or a van enforcing privacy rights. So I guess they're going to go around like a food truck and do abortions. Yes, this guy is that crazy.
I'm sorry.
Well,
Go ahead, Bob, please.
Yeah, I was going to say, is his first stop going to be Washington, D.C.? Why don't they pull out of the van and get rid of the Patriot Act if they're so concerned about privacy?
We can only dream, Bob. You're being way too rational for this kind of story. I made Snickers hurt. That's the great.
I agree with Alex. these are the people that, and I agree with them on this. I'm not for qualified immunity for doctors or police officers or whatever, but for the sake of going around killing fetuses, that's macabre at best. You know?
Dr. Force driving trucks in, that's how extreme they're willing to go to kill a fetus. And you have 6 weeks. 6 weeks. So, you know, it's not like it's completely banned there. They're kind of selling it as it is, but it's not. It's until there's a heartbeat. So it's about 6 weeks. Yeah. There are other stories. I did a Tampa Dispatch story, which basically it's a reiteration of some information that has come out. But COVID, you can't get headlines in. We have proof now that the HHS is funding fetal tissue experiments. So they're basically going in during the abortion, delivering the child alive, taking the tissue, and then euthanizing the child. So that was a story I did over on Tampa. And of course, you can't speak out in any way pro-Texas. I made a note of a couple stories here. The Food Network fired Josh Denny. I don't know who this person is, but he's there. And the Tripwire CEO, John Gibson, he got removed as well, just because they spoke out in favor of Texas's right or being pro-life. I'm not even sure they said they were pro-life. I think they may have just said like Texas has a right to do it. But then, to me, this was the story. And I really have a hard time with this because even if you're an atheist, I don't understand the concept that you think it's okay to be on the side of anyone that calls themselves the Satanic Temple. So the Satanic Temple is suing Texas, saying it's against their religion because it would block their ability to do all of this because of their practices. So help me get my head around, and I'll let either one of you jump in. Help me understand, even if you don't believe, like I'm a believer, I got the heaven and hell thing in my head. And they're not really Satan worshipers in the sense that we think of, like, 1970s, 80s Satan worshipers and butchering cats or whatever. It's more like just it's like a PR thing for being kind of an atheist, humanist, whatever. But reality is, if you're on the side of the people that call themselves the Satanic Temple, you might be doing something wrong. Is that not a fair argument to at least start just about any topic with, Alex?
Well, hold on a second here. If you believe in Satan, then don't you have to also believe in God and in Jesus and the rest of it? So if you are part of the satanic cult or whatever, you can't be an atheist, because an atheist wouldn't believe in Satan either, though.
Well, that's always been one of my arguments about when I've talked to some of those folks. I actually talked to one, it was Desk O'Brien era, and that was kind of one of my things. I'm like, well, I don't understand. If you believe in Satan, then you believe in the angels, you believe in the whole hierarchy and that. And he kind of kept dancing around. But reality is, the way they behave is, it's more like branding. But even if you're going to brand something and you find out the Satanic Temple is with your stance, it seems like it's not the stance you probably want to keep. What do you think, Bob?
Well, I think we have a common theme during this show. Seriously,
kind of by design, maybe. Maybe
being part of that club is not such a horrible thing in 2021.
That was deep, Bob. Real deep.
Well, it wasn't meant to be if you're joking. I don't know, but
no, that was actually kind of deep. I was like, that was kind of deep. I'm like, I don't even know how to respond to this situation. It spiraled so out of control.
Yeah, that maybe it's more acceptable to be part of the Satanic Temple than to be a member of a Baptist church.
For at least, I would say at least a third of the population, that's probably true. Yeah.
So it's not that hard for me to swallow. Oh, Snicker.
That was just so great. So Snicker's bad. The best. Snicker's the best. Okay, so I'll close.
I'm waiting for him to give me a nickname now.
Oh,
no, I'm just gonna leave that one right where it is. That was just too funny. It tickled me in a weird way.
Hey, we're News Talk with Brandon and Bob. We're here to tell you about some of the facts so you don't have to waste your time watching CNN.
We don't want you wasting any time with CNN.
Or Fox, or MSNBC, or some of these other guys that are making a whole lot of money.
Et cetera, et cetera.
It's not paying.